You read labels looking for sugar, avoid sweets, soft drinks, but did you know that there's a carbohydrate that causes bigger blood sugar spikes than sugar, and it's hidden in products you think are healthy? If you or someone in your family has diabetes, fatty liver, obesity, or just that stubborn belly fat that won't go away, this video may completely change the way you understand food. Today, I'm going to reveal what this invisible carbohydrate is, where it hides, what it does to your body, and most importantly, how you can protect yourself from it starting today. Stay with me until the end because you're going to discover something the food industry doesn't want you to know. Let me tell you the story of Carla, because she represents thousands of people I've helped, and who probably look a lot like you. Carla is 48 years old, and her doctor was very direct with her. Carla, you need to stop eating sugar immediately. If you don't change your habits, in 2 or 3 years, you'll be taking medication for diabetes. And Carla took it very seriously. She's a disciplined, responsible person. She completely cut out soft drinks. She used to drink a can every day after lunch. She eliminated chocolate, cakes, desserts. She started reading all the labels at the supermarket. She began buying everything that said, sugar-free, no added sugar, gluten-free, fit, light. But do you know what happened? Nothing changed. Her blood sugar levels remained high, her liver remained fatty, and the scale didn't budge. Until one day, during a consultation on integrative nutrition, she discovered something shocking. Those healthy products she was buying were full of a carbohydrate that acts on the body in a worse way than sugar. And the worst part? This carbohydrate doesn't appear on the sugar list on the label. It's invisible. It's disguised. When Carla learned to identify and avoid this ingredient, within 3 months, her blood sugar levels normalized, her liver started to deflate. She lost 8 kilograms without excessive effort. Her energy returned, and today, I'm going to teach you exactly what she learned. Because if you have insulin resistance, diabetes, abdominal fat, or chronic fatigue, this carbohydrate may be sabotaging you every day without you realizing it. Rule 1. What is modified industrial starch and why is it invisible? The most dangerous carbohydrate in the modern world is called modified industrial starch. And before you think, but I don't eat starch, I avoid carbohydrates, let me explain something very important. You probably consume between 30 and 100 kilograms of this starch per year. And you probably have no idea about it. Why? Because here's the most brilliant and perverse trick the food industry has ever invented. Look at a label with me. Let's do an analysis together. On the nutrition information table, what you'll see: total carbohydrates, 16g dietary fiber, 1g sugars, 0g. Now let's do some basic math. 16 minus 1 minus 0 equals 15. In other words, we have 15 grams of carbohydrates that aren't listed anywhere. It's not fiber, it's not sugar. So what is it? Where are these 15 grams hidden? It's modified industrial starch. And here's the catch. According to current legislation, it doesn't need to be listed as sugar. But when you eat it, when it reaches your intestine, it turns into pure glucose faster than table sugar. But what exactly is this modified starch? Imagine you have a common potato, the kind you buy at the market. This potato has natural starch, those long and complex chains of glucose molecules that your body takes a long time to break down and digest. Now imagine the industry takes this potato and subjects it to a process. Grinding, processing, refining, treating with acids, treating with enzymes, treating with various chemicals, heating, cooling, modifying the molecular structure, until it becomes an ultra-fine, ultra-refined white powder. This powder is no longer potato. It has nothing to do with the original food. It's modified industrial starch, a completely artificial substance. And the difference in what happens to your body is absolutely brutal. When you eat natural starch from a cooked potato, for example, your body takes time to digest. Glucose is released gradually over hours. Your pancreas can handle it calmly. When you eat modified industrial starch, it's completely different. It explodes into glucose seconds after you swallow. There's no barrier, no protection, no slowdown. It's like comparing a lit candle to a dynamite explosion. The total energy may be the same, but the release speed changes everything. And do you know where this starch is present? Everywhere. Literally in almost everything you buy at the supermarket. Breakfast cereals, including those sold as integral or with fiber, gluten-free bread. Most of it is basically pure starch, fit, and sugar-free snacks. They replace sugar with starch, baby formulas. Yes, we're feeding this to babies of protein supplements. Many use maltodextrin as a base or ready-made sauces of all kinds, chips and crackers, all types of cookies, instant noodles, ready-made soups of frozen empanadas, and the worst part, many of these products are actively sold as healthy, natural, good for you. The first fundamental rule is, learn to identify the invisible enemy. If the label says modified starch, maltodextrin, modified cornstarch, it's industrial starch. And it's a serious problem. You must be thinking, but if it's not sugar, why is it so dangerous? The answer will shock you, because what it does to your body is worse than what any sugar could do. And that brings me to the second point. Rule 2. What modified industrial starch does to your body. When you consume modified industrial starch, a truly devastating metabolic cascade occurs in your body. Let me explain it step by step, in a very didactic way, so you understand exactly what's happening inside you. Step 1. The glucose explosion. Modified industrial starch is broken down so quickly by your digestive system that, within minutes, your blood sugar levels skyrocket. We're talking about glucose spikes bigger than if you ate pure white sugar straight from the spoon. Why does this happen? Because the industrial modification process broke down all the natural barriers that existed in the original food. All the complex structures that would slow down digestion were completely destroyed. The result is glucose in powder form, ready to explode instantly into your bloodstream. There's no brake, no protection. Step 2. The massive insulin shock. When your pancreas detects this sudden tsunami of glucose invading the blood, it goes into panic mode. It's a metabolic emergency. The response? It releases a flood of insulin to try to control the situation, to remove all this glucose from the blood before it causes damage. And what does insulin do with all this glucose? Turns it into fat, mainly visceral fat, that dangerous fat that accumulates around internal organs, especially the liver. Every time you eat modified industrial starch, you're basically telling your body, store fat now. Step 3. The development of insulin resistance. Over time, with this constant repetition of insulin spikes, your cells start to become deaf to this hormone. They stop responding properly. It's like if you shouted at someone every day, several times a day. Eventually, that person stops listening, stops reacting. They become desensitized. Your cells do the same thing. They develop resistance. And then you enter the most dangerous cycle of metabolic health. Your pancreas needs to produce more and more insulin to do the same job it did with less. It overloads, exhausts. The final result? Prediabetes, type 2 diabetes, fatty liver, metabolic syndrome, a progressive collapse of your metabolism. Step 4. The installation of chronic inflammation. But it doesn't stop there. Modified industrial starch also selectively feeds the bad bacteria in your gut. It creates an intestinal environment that's completely out of balance, which we call dysbiosis. This generates a state of chronic systemic inflammation, a low-grade inflammation that spreads throughout the body, affecting almost all systems. What does this mean in practice? It means joint pain that doesn't go away. It means unexplained chronic fatigue. It means skin problems like acne and eczema. It means mood changes, anxiety, even depression, all connected to the inflammation that starts in the gut and radiates. Step 5. The silent accumulation of toxins. And what worries me the most in all this? The chemicals used in the modification process of this starch. Let me show you some of them. Sodium triphosphate, associated with kidney problems and vascular calcification. A vinyl acetate, classified as a possible carcinogen. A hydrochloric acid, used in processing. Sodium hypochlorite, that's right, the main component of bleach, is used in some processes, and all these substances are considered GRA by the American FDA, which means generally recognized as safe. But here's the huge problem. There are almost no long-term studies on the consumption of these substances. No one has studied what happens when you consume small amounts of them every day for decades. We're literally using the global population as guinea pigs for an uncontrolled experiment. In summary, when you regularly consume modified industrial starch, you're simultaneously spiking your blood sugar levels in an uncontrolled way, overloading and exhausting your pancreas, creating and worsening insulin resistance, accumulating visceral fat, inflaming your entire body chronically, and exposing yourself to questionable chemicals in the modification process. The second fundamental rule is, understand once and for all that this is not food. It's an industrial chemical disguised as food. You must be thinking, but is this in my house? The answer is, probably yes. And now I'm going to show you exactly where it hides. Rule 3. Where modified industrial starch hides. Get ready, because some of these will surprise you. 1. Sugar-free and zero products. You know that sugar-free cookie you by thinking you're making a healthy choice? Take the package and look at the label carefully. Many of them have 60 to 70% modified industrial starch in their composition. The food industry made a master move. They removed the sugar, which is what you learn to avoid, and replaced it with something that's metabolically worse. But since it's not technically sugar, they can put sugar-free on the packaging. You think you're protecting yourself, but you're falling into a trap. 2. Gluten-free products. The trend of gluten-free products has exploded in recent years. Gluten-free bread, pasta, cookies, cakes, there's everything. But look at the composition of most of them. 70 to 80% is modified corn starch or modified potato starch. Basically industrial starch powder pressed into the shape of bread. You remove the gluten, which for most people wasn't a real problem, and put a metabolic bomb in its place. You made a terrible trade without realizing it. 3. Baby food. This deeply disturbs me. Baby formulas and industrialized baby food are full of modified industrial starch. We're literally feeding babies substances that program insulin resistance from an early age. 4. Fit and healthy snacks. Vegetable chips that seem so natural. Protein bars with sports packaging. Granola that promises energy and health. Protein cookies. Turn the package over and read the ingredients. Modified starch often appears among the first 3 ingredients. Sometimes it's the first. 5. Vegan and plant-based products. Vegetable burgers that bleed. Vegan nuggets. Vegan cheeses. Plant-based sausages. Many of these products are composed of 65 to 75% modified industrial starch, textured protein, and refined vegetable oils. You wanted to do good for the planet, you wanted to make an ethical choice, and I respect that, but without realizing it, you're destroying your own metabolism. 6. Supplements and shakes. Whey protein from popular brands. Hypercaloric supplements. Meal replacements. Shakes for weight loss. Many of them use maltodextrin, which is simply modified industrial starch with another name, as a base ingredient, sometimes representing 50% or more of the product. Now look at the average composition of the most consumed ultra-processed foods. Packaged snacks. 65% starch plus 30% refined vegetable oil. Cream cracker type cookies. 70% starch plus 25% oiled breakfast cereals. 75 to 80% starch, industrialized bread. 70 to 75% starch plus 15% oil. Frozen French fries. 80% starch plus 15% oil. Instant noodles. 70% starch plus 15% oil plus chemical seasonings. Can you see the pattern? Modified industrial starch plus refined vegetable oil equals a toxic cocktail for your metabolism. And do you know how much of this the Brazilian population consumes on average? The data is alarming. Brazilian children, 65% of daily calories come from ultra-processed foods equals approximately 25 kilograms of modified industrial starch per year. To teenagers, 70% of calories equals around 48 kilograms of starch per year. For adults, 55% of calories equals around 30 kilograms of starch per year. We're talking about tens of kilograms of an industrial chemical entering people's bodies every year. And no one talks about it. The third rule is, always read the ingredient list. If it says modified starch, maltodextrin, modified corn starch, think twice. Now let me ask you a deeper question. Why does all this matter so much? Why am I dedicating my time to explain this to you? Because when you truly understand what modified industrial starch does to your body, you have a transformative revelation. You realize that many of your chronic diseases aren't just genetic, aren't just bad luck, aren't just part of aging. They're the direct and predictable result of what you eat without knowing, day after day, year after year. That type 2 diabetes your doctor said you'll have to control with medication for the rest of your life? In many cases, it can be reversible if you stop bombarding your body with modified industrial starch constantly. That fatty liver that showed up on your last abdominal ultrasound? It can significantly regress if you cut off the main source of the problem. That stubborn abdominal fat that won't go away even with intense exercise or restrictive diets can finally start to melt when you stop spiking insulin levels every day. But there's an even more important aspect to all this. When you learn this information, you gain the power to protect your entire family. You can prevent your children from developing childhood obesity and insulin resistance from an early age. You can help your elderly parents reverse or better control their diabetes. You can break the cycle of chronic diseases that seems to pass from generation to generation in your family, and which, in fact, isn't genetic but rather dietary patterns being repeated. And I need to make one thing very clear to avoid misunderstandings. I'm not saying you can never eat a cookie, a bread, a snack again. It's not about paranoia or food terrorism. The problem isn't eating occasionally at a party on a special occasion. The problem is when 55 to 70% of your daily calories come from these products, and you don't even realize it because you think you're eating normally or even healthily. The problem is thinking you're making smart choices when, in fact, you're slowly poisoning yourself without knowing. True transformation begins with knowledge, with awareness. And today, by watching this video, you took the first and most important step. Let's recap everything you learned today, because I want you to leave here knowing exactly what to do. First, the most dangerous carbohydrate in the world isn't sugar. It's modified industrial starch. It causes bigger blood sugar spikes than sugar, but it's invisible on labels because it doesn't need to be listed as sugar. Second, it's in everything. Sugar-free products, gluten-free foods, fit snacks, baby formulas, supplements. The industry removes sugar and puts something worse in its place. Third, what it does to your body is devastating. It spikes blood sugar, overloads the pancreas, creates insulin resistance, accumulates visceral fat, inflames the entire body, and it also contains questionable chemicals in the modification process. Fourth, you can protect yourself. Read the ingredient list. Look for modified starch, maltodextrin, modified corn starch. If it's there, think twice. Fifth, the solution isn't paranoia, it's awareness. Go back to basics. Real food, minimally processed. You have the power to change your health starting today. If you take away only one thing from this video, let it be this: your metabolic problems aren't just genetic or bad luck. Many times, it's the invisible carbohydrate you consume every day without knowing. If this video opened your eyes, if you identified with it, if you know someone with diabetes, obesity, or fatty liver, share this video. This information needs to reach more people. And give it a like below. This helps YouTube show this content to those who really need it. If you're not subscribed to the channel yet, subscribe now and activate the bell. Because every week I bring you content like this. Empowering information, based on science without unnecessary alarmism, focused on giving you tools to take control of your health. Now I have an essential video for you. In it, I'll show you a specific food that, when consumed at night, regenerates your vision while you sleep. The link is on the screen. It makes more sense now, and you can continue this journey with me. Thank you very much for watching until the end. This shows that you really care about your health and the health of those you love. See you in the next video. Take care of yourself.